take some chats and some questions as we go along. But let's give everybody a chance to join. It's just exactly noon, and we'll go there from here. Let's give it 60 seconds and we will get started. Okay, I think we'll get us started. Again, welcome to those of you who just joined us. My name is Bob Cohen. I am a SCORE mentor, and I would be honored to listen to any questions that you have, any chat that you have. Feel free to go ahead and drop those in. Just to let you all know that there will be a recording of this available and sent to you directly within the next couple of days. And along with the recording, there will be some handout materials that I'll go through this afternoon, and all that will be available to you and automatically sent to you, as I said, within the next couple of days. So let's get us started. I'd like to talk about SCORE for a couple minutes, and then we'll get right into the actual workshop itself. So for those of you who are not familiar with SCORE, we probably have the largest network of free volunteer small business mentors in the nation. There are some 240 chapters across the country, and probably somewhere around 10,000 mentors. It's an all volunteer organization. So the mentors that you work with, for the most part, will be people that have had excellent careers in all kinds of expertise across the nation. We've got 90 volunteers here in Cleveland, again, with all kinds of expertise available for you. And we are here to help you. We're here to mentor with you one on one. We're here to put on workshops like this one. We're also here to help put together some boards of advisors that might be able to help when we've got multiple mentors working with one client or one business. So that's the beginning of it. Our mission is to foster small, vibrant business communities through mentoring and education that I just mentioned, and to give every person the need and the support that they need to survive as a small business owner. So we welcome you. And in a second, I will show you how to find a mentor. And as we go through the presentation this afternoon and the rest of this series, you'll see where there are areas where mentors can really help you, particularly start and grow your businesses. So we give freely of our time, and everything that we do is free. Mentoring is unlimited. There's no limit in how much time we can spend with you. We'd like to be there for the life of your business. So when you start up, when you grow your business, and when you exit your business, SCORE is here to help. So just very quickly, some stats. What I really wanted to talk about is the fact that small business is probably about 50% of the nation's economy. So it is really important to make sure that small businesses thrive. When you take a look at the amount of employment that you all, as small businesses, provide for other people, that is a huge portion of the economy. And the idea here is to create wealth for you, for your families, for your communities, and ultimately the nation through the businesses that you put together. And that's why SCORE does what we do. We're also here to help underserved communities, underserved individuals. So we are supported just to a small extent by the Small Business Administration, but we are a partner of them. They recommend SCORE mentors for people that are applying for loans that need help. And we have a great partnership with the SBA, and all of the other organizations that are part of it. So what I'm going to do now is kind of go live to our website, just to give you an idea of how you can find a local mentor. So we're on the website. So I mean, it's very easy. You can browse mentor profiles. You could take a look at each of the mentors that we have here in the immediate area, or you can go up here and find a mentor. And this is a national part of the national website up in this area right here. And certainly, if there are people out there that have some skills and are interested in becoming a volunteer and becoming a SCORE mentor, please go to the volunteer tab and check it out and see what it is. But to find a local mentor, it's quite simple. You go to score.org and /Cleveland, and that's our website. You'll get this homepage, and just go to request a local mentor and fill out the information about who you are, your name, your address, information about how you want us to work with you, and most importantly, put in a description of the information that you are looking for that we can help you with. And then we will match you up to a mentor that either has the experience you're looking for or who can pull together a team of people that have experience that we can work with. So each one of our mentors is kind of like a quarterback. They'll reach out to you within generally 48 hours of the time they receive the request. They'll follow up with I would call this a discovery call, at least the first call, to figure out what it is you're looking for, what you need. They will work with you through the various aspects of your business and the help that you need. They might in turn pull other mentors in subsequent mentoring sessions that have other expertise that will also contribute to what it is that you're looking for. So this is an important area to fill out. And then basically all you need to do is submit it. I'm not a robot. Submit it, and we'll follow up from there. So feel free to go onto this website when you have a moment. I'm going to go back to the slide show and share it. I am going to try and keep this so that we can get you off by 1 o'clock from this call. All I want to do is hit that slideshow and then we'll get started. All right, so we're loaded up. I showed you the website. There are other things on the website that are probably valuable for you. You can take a look at past workshops. You can go to the workshop calendar, undertake a workshop, look at what's coming up, sign up for those. Many of you who are already on this call are on our workshop list as well, so you're getting emails from us on a regular basis. Also, there are some wonderful templates on here, financial templates, business plan templates. In fact, I'll show you a business plan today, which has this template online on our website. As part of this, we will be working with that. So let's get started. I wanted to talk to you a little bit about startup basics, and this says, "Are you ready?" But this is actually a 5-part series. And to the extent that you can be on all 5 of these, and I think it's consecutive Thursdays, 12 o'clock noon, all the rest of these will be on. So today we're talking about startup basics. I'll give you a little bit about that. But the follow-up session here is going to be business concepts, how to develop your business concept, how to research what you're trying to do, how to find the best possible information about you and your competitors, about the business you're starting up. That's what this is going to be. And then how to articulate what it is you're trying to say about your business. The next portion of this will be a marketing plan, and we'll talk a little bit about that. And keep in mind that this is all overviews, that these 5 parts we can easily do weeks and weeks and weeks on any one of these one subject. So this is going to be an overview. And here's an opportunity where, as you see what you're getting yourselves into trying to start up a business, get with a mentor. Whether it's a SCORE mentor or from any other organization or just somebody that's got expertise in the area that you want, get yourself somebody that can help you. So then the marketing session, I think I'm actually leading the marketing session, and then financial matters. And this will be to talk about what kinds of financial information that you need to put into your business plan. I'm going to show you a business plan in a little bit that we will be using as a template and as well a model for business planning that you can look at and utilize. Now, this business plan is for a consumer, business to consumer or business to business organization. You'll see that in a little bit. And then the last part of this is going to be funding options. Dan Toll will be talking about where funding can be found. Again, it's going to be an overview, high level, but he really gets into a fair amount of information. So along with this, you'll get worksheets that you can work on. You'll also get links within the slide. You'll get the actual copies of these slides with live links in them. So there'll be a lot of good resources available through that. The idea here is to look at your ideas, look at your business planning, and make a go or no go decision in terms of whether or not this is a feasible plan, and then work with a mentor to help build that business plan out. So I'm going to talk a little bit about, and again, this is an overview on some of the basics that you can work with here. So the benefits of the workshop, we're going to go through some, just very quickly, myths and realities about being an entrepreneur, some critical success factors, knowing what your options are in terms of how you can begin to start your business, what types of businesses are out there, and then making it legal. And I'm only going to cover that from a 3 or 4 or 5 different types of businesses that are out there. Business plan basics and very, very general, because going through the next weeks will actually give you much more detail on putting together your business plan. And then a little bit of a self-assessment and then some next steps. So typically, with this simple steps process, there's a little bit of homework. It's nothing major, but it's really something that will make you start thinking about what you're trying to do and what your businesses are. So the benefits are, how you develop your feasibility plan. This will take you through some decision making. As I mentioned before, go or no go decisions, and just having some good core information once you put together that plan that you can take to bankers and other funders or investors. So then, this is going to help you have some good key directions to give you a good start. A lot of times entrepreneurs are focused on, the value of what they do, how they're going to market what they do, the idea itself, and don't think it through linear from a business perspective. Where do I start? Where do I go from here? Where do I go from there? And so on, all the way down. And I typically tell people, you start at what you want at the end, work your way backwards, and work your way forward. And you'll see this as we go along. So just a couple myths. I'm not going to dwell into these all that long. You probably already have some answers here. But, entrepreneurs don't have to work hard or put in long hours. Well, it's probably contrary to that. A good entrepreneur is going to work hard, put in tons of hours, and really put forth a huge effort in order to make this work. So, your product is unique and there's no competition. Yeah, you may have a particular niche that you're going into, or you may even have an idea that has some uniqueness to it, or a very unique idea. But I guarantee you there are other people doing parts of or all of what you're doing one way or another. So it's really, really important to understand and to tune into your competitors. And when you go for funding, your bankers are going to want to know what your competitors are doing as well. And business owners can deduct everything, taxes and all that stuff. Yeah, there's a fair amount that you can do, but it's not all that way. You want to be able to show that your business is getting stronger and growing. So paying taxes is not a bad thing. Obviously, you don't want to pay tax on anything you don't need to, but you don't need to go out of your way not to show profit. Because if you don't have a good track record with business and business growth, it's really hard to get funding. Being your own boss, yeah, you are that, but you're also answering to your customers, you're answering to your bankers, you're answering to the people that work for you one way or another. So yeah, you are the one that's setting the direction and coming up with the strategy and growing your business. But you have a lot of bosses out there, and then business owners get to do whatever they want. Maybe after you sell your business and you have your own time, but other than that, uh, somebody asked me if I would elaborate on what I mean starting at the end and then what it looks like for start. So what I'm saying is start with what you think your business ought to look like when in terms of overall growth and potential, where you want to be, somewhere along the line as you begin to grow your business, what it's going to look like in a year, 2 years, 3 years, 5 years out, and then work your way backwards to the very, very beginning. So, setting goals, setting strategies, that's what I mean by that. Somebody is located in Buffalo. Am I in the right place? You are in the Cleveland chapter of SCORE, but what we're talking about today applies to anybody that's looking to start a business. And in many cases, many of the other chapters of SCORE around the country will their pin our workshops and webinars as we do to their website. So you may have found this on their website. And by the way, Buffalo is my hometown. I grew up there, went to school there, and lived there for many years and still have relatives. So welcome, Buffalo. Yes, go Bills. Anyway, let's keep going before I get myself into any hot water here. So just very quick, these are stats. Some of these may be alarming to you, but take a look at these. I guess in the first couple of years, 24% of businesses will fail, and going forward it becomes 50-50. So, it's really a matter of planning. If you fail to plan and be strategic about your business, there's a great opportunity for you to fail in the first place. Anyway, let's keep going on. Let's talk about some critical success factors. And these may sound very, very simple, and they are and they're not. But so experience and education in your field. So unless you're going into a franchise where you don't necessarily need any experience, I'll talk about franchises in a few minutes. You really should have some experience in the field that you're considering starting your business in. Your banker's going to want to know that. And they're going to want to know that you've got experience. So, don't start a restaurant because you like food or you've been to a lot of restaurants. If you don't have experience one way or another in restaurants or food and beverage or managing, or being an executive chef, it's going to be really hard for you to be successful in the restaurant business. And so, yeah, we will be able to share this presentation with everybody, as well as the recording, slides, as well as handouts that I'll be showing. So yeah, keep that in the back of your mind that this is all available, so you don't need to take pictures, etc., of the screens. But at any rate, your banker is going to want to know that you've got some experience and understand the business that you're going into. And for startups, it's difficult to get funding. If and Dan will talk about this in the last session on how to get funding and what it means to be a startup in doing so. Strong work ethic, and that's easy to gloss over, but I work with a lot of clients who are in the startup phases of their business, and if you don't put the work effort in putting together your planning and getting yourself to a point where you understand where you're going after the planning is done, and spend that time, put your time into that, you will never, ever be successful. So I might work with a client and assign them homework on putting together pieces or parts of their business plan so that I can then go back and go through it with them, talk to them about it. And I go to the next session and nothing's been done. And I go to the next session and nothing's been done. If you're not going to put the work in, you will not be successful in business. Effective time management, that's pretty easy to kind of gloss over. You know that. Ability to manage and multitask, you will find that as you go into business, that things come at you faster than you know what to do with. And so you need to be able to do that. keep up with it. A willingness to ask for help. That is so important. I can't stress that enough. And again, these things look like they're easy, but you don't have all the answers. You shouldn't do this or don't have to do this alone. So obviously, adequate capital is very important. There are a lot of good businesses out there that have started out bootstrapping, maybe even part-time, maybe as a side gig that they've built into a full-time business. There's nothing wrong with doing that, and you should plan for that if in fact that's the path that you want to take. So let's move on. Just some essentials too, and I'm just going to go through this one very quickly. Tools and equipment, leasehold improvements if you're going into brick and mortar, licenses and permits, that's very important. As you begin to research the business that you're going into, you need to take a look at what licenses you might need. And there are places to find that. One place that you want to mark down is and there's probably something equivalent in New York State, but in Ohio, it's ohio.gov. And then once you get to that website, there are tools for business that's available. That's a great website. There's a lot in there. A lot of what I'm going to talk to you about today may be covered one way or another in there. But all the permits, I shouldn't say all, many of the permits, many of the licenses and things that you'll need will be located in that ohio.gov business tools that are available. When you work with a mentor, they will help to walk you through how to find some of that information. So other things you want to consider, let's say, for instance, you're a nonprofit and you're starting a nursing home. What licenses do you need? What designations might you need to be qualified to do that? Same thing with restaurants and so on. But we can help you. You can find out. You can do your own research online, and SCORE mentors can help you. And so inventory, working capital, reserve funds, those are all important things. And in the last session, Dan Toll will talk to you about equity and debt financing and funding, and those are things that are important. Things that you also want to consider if you're going to go into your business full time. What do you need to live on in order to make it worth your while? How do you account for that? Your business plan should be accounting for that as well as the people that potentially are going to work for you, your employees. You might want to consider, if you're going to finance this on your own, what you've got in the way of money, what you can cut back on in your personal life. Do you have any outstanding debt? Part of gaining funding is going to be looking at your credit scores. There are some funders that are looking at higher credit scores than other funders, and SCORE mentors can help you find those that potentially match what you're looking for. And do have some savings, because you're going to some way or another need to put up some equity in order to get funding through debt of either banks or other types of funders. And there are many other types of funders that Dan will talk about in the last session of these. So let's talk about knowing your options in terms of what types of businesses you might want to consider working in. So I'm just going to go through these quickly, and this is by no means the end-all be-all list, but this is kind of the 200, 300, 400-foot view of potential ways you can start businesses. And again, this is by no means all the advantages or all the disadvantages. And what I would suggest that you do is take a look at any of these and go deeper into them to find out what is best suited for the particular need that you have in how you start your business. So let's talk about starting a new business from scratch. And that means a blank canvas and taking that and building your business from there. You may have a great idea. You may even have some ideas of strategy on how you're going to get there. And that means that you're not going to be hampered by, a company that you might consider buying by their previous reputation or technology of an existing business. You may have all those answers in in your own head. You might have intellectual property that you bring to the table. That's patents. That is special ways of doing things. That special recipes. That's a lot of things that you might have patented or copyrighted that you're bringing to the table that maybe nobody else has. And that may be a good reason to start from scratch. Being able to choose your own name, being able to put together how you build your relationships with your vendors and the people that work for you, and ultimately even how you brand and those types of things. And you have the ability to explore new markets and directions. So those are all pretty decent advantages, but there's some disadvantages as well. So for instance, having no customers to build your business on. You got to start from scratch. You have absolutely no history. So when you're putting together financial plans, what you're doing is you're either relying on financial plans that other companies in similar ways, meaning your competitors, have done, or you're looking at, relying on information that you're putting together either through research at the library, through various databases and things like that. So you're taking more of a stab at how you're doing this in terms of putting this together. And so there's some risk there as well. So you're taking a bigger risk. You don't have anything to start up with. If you're putting your own money up front, that's what you're risking. You've got no track record, so you have no history. A company that you're potentially buying has history, has some financial history, and I'll go into that next. There are many, many more reasons why you should or shouldn't start a business from scratch. And I would advise you again to talk with whatever advisors that you have, up to and including bankers if you've got a relationship there. So somebody's asked, should you patent or protect your intellectual properties before looking for funding and grants and loans? I can't give you a direct answer on that. What I can say is that, depending on what you are considering to patent or protect, you probably want to talk to somebody and we've got people in SCORE that have got some pretty good backgrounds in that. We've got some people that are lawyers. Now, we don't give legal advice, but we'll give business advice. We've got people that are new product developing people, and we can you can talk to them about that. But to get a good, strong protection, it takes some time. So you might want to consider working simultaneously on your business plan, looking for funding and grants and loans and things like that before you get final patents. Obviously, if you got something that's unique and it's already patented, that's a leg up. That's money in the bank. So, think of it that way. Again, talk to an advisor. I can't go any deeper than that with the time we have here, but it's kind of a beginning of the answer for what you're looking for. So let's talk about buying a business that's already in existence. So you've got established clientele, potentially suppliers, even a known location. If you're buying a brick and mortar, or let's even say you're buying a website that's already up and running, many other ways to buy businesses that are out there. The business is a known quantity potentially with a proven formula. And think about that when you think about franchising, a proven formula. And then it potentially has a track record, and it might be easier obtaining finance. That's the good part of it. The disadvantages, and again, there's many more than what I'm talking about, is hidden issues, debts, poor reputation, loyalty to owners. So in other words, if I own a business and I'm selling it to you, I may have some very, very loyal customers that are not going to go to you. Okay, so that's a real risk. So when you consider buying a business, part of what you want to take a look at, and again, do not do this without proper lawyers and proper accounting people, because if you don't do your homework and your due diligence, you potentially could be have problems. So if there are hidden debts, there's skeletons in the closet, bad reputation, again, loyalty to the old owners, out of date inventories, or transfer issues. In other words, having licenses transfer, having contracts that are out there that are assignable to the new owners transfer. Those are all possible problems that you can get your hands into. So again, work with advisors that can help you to discover whether or not buying a business is a good way to go. And it certainly can be, but you got to be on the lookout for all those things. And there is no guarantee that your success will continue. There's also no guarantees that you won't have employee issues. So those are all things that need to be ironed out in advance. And again, if you're buying a business, and I think Dan will talk about this in the last session that we do, you also want to make sure that there are no issues with having um, um, environmental issues. If you're buying brick and mortar, you're buying property, because once you've bought it, you own it. So you want to check that out as well. That's where the lawyers will help you. And there's a lot of public records that you can check out. The other thing is that with buying a business, you can look at history. You can look at up to 5 years, even more if you want, history to see how that business is done year over year, and to gear it. And that's another area where having some financial help through a CPA or some kind of an accountant could work very well in your behalf. Let's take a look at franchises. I'm going to go quickly here. Franchises are, think of McDonald's, think of, Burger King, but also think of some of the franchises that are out there that are not as costly. There are some pretty good franchises out there that do power washing, there's actually a franchise company out there that does work with drones and real estate and things like that. Those are pretty cool, actually. And not as costly. It doesn't cost millions of dollars to get into. And sometimes some of the franchisors will help on the funding side of it. If nothing else, if they're successful, they will probably have ways that you can get financing. Your net worth will be important in those particular cases. So becoming part of a franchise system, it's a proven system. I would not look at a franchise that's starting up that doesn't have proven stores that they own that have gone out, done well. You've got some good marketing and sales power from a franchisor if they've done their job and they're a strong and good franchisor. Training, they will give you professional guidance. Those are all great things to have in franchises. And in some cases, as I said earlier, you may not even necessarily have to have real knowledge of the industry that you're going into to be successful as a franchisee. And you've got, in many cases, access to other franchisees that can help you out to take a look at what they've done and how they're working. And again, as I mentioned, a proven system. But some of the disadvantages are that you have limited freedom to make your own decisions. If you buy into a franchise system, you have to sign contracts of sorts that say that you will live within the system. So you can't, as a McDonald's owner or other owners, and I'm using McDonald's as a sample primarily because it's quick and easy. You can't go in there and come up with your own hamburger and recipe to do that. You can if you own your own burger station or something like that, but not if you own a McDonald's. So you have to stay within their recipes and all the things that go along with it. And you're not always your own boss. Yes, you have control over your franchises, and you may own more than one franchise. You may even have to sign a paper that says you will open up a certain amount of franchises, I'm sorry, within a given geographic area. You will definitely pay royalties, franchise fees, marketing fees, and a lot of other things off the top. And if you go to a good franchisor, you will find that they'll give you a kit that explains all of what that entails. That's something that you should go through with a lawyer. There are also franchise brokers out there that are very good, but you've got to make sure, and SCORE works with one in particular that we've vetted, but a good franchise broker acts like a real estate broker in that they will have vetted a number of franchisors and will know up front which ones are good, and they'll help match you up. And so, some systems out there that can work. So not sure what that was. Um, so, do your homework before you start. Look at all those things. If you are paying a franchise fee, you're going to pay off the top. In other words, you're going to pay off the revenue that comes in. You may also pay off the bottom, off the actual uh, profit as well. I'm not certain how that all works, but also think about reputation. The franchisor problems are your problems as well. Something goes wrong in somewhere else in the country with a franchise, that problem is yours as well. And I've seen that happen with, food poisoning incidents that have gone out with, a specific hamburger or beef joint where, that all of a sudden for a period of a year or so, business will potentially decrease. So home-based businesses, um, there are a lot here. I'm going to let you kind of take a look at this as I talk. I'm not going to go through all of these, but look at the possibility of facing zoning issues or restrictions on where you live and how you work. So if you're doing a home-based business, and I get a lot of people that want to start small nonprofits in their homes, but actually, bring in clients to their home, or even small homes for like drug addiction and things like that. You've got to make sure that your zoning is correct, or you will not be able to do it. Or once you start up and you've done it, you will be asked to cease and desist. So let's move along here. Nonprofits, I'm only going to go into briefly. I'm sure we have nonprofits. In fact, if you are a nonprofit, why don't you just put that in the chat for me so I can take a look to see what we've got, and I can see how much time to spend down the road on nonprofits. But for all intents and purposes, a nonprofit is exactly that. The organization is not making profit that can be distributed to the members of the organization. You can hire people to work for it. You can work with volunteers that work for free. SCORE is a nonprofit. And somebody said, not sure yet, and I'm not surprised. There are a lot of companies out there, or people with ideas that are considering being for profit or nonprofit. I'm not going to go into what's good or what's bad here, but I'd say if you're working with a SCORE mentor, talk to them. There are some nonprofit series coming up in the SCORE workshops that will help you as well. Nonprofits, as I said, the profits stay within the organization. People can get paid for what they do. Funding is generally a little bit different. You're not going to go to a bank for funding. You're likely to go to a foundation or a donor to get your funding. You don't necessarily and probably wouldn't pay your funding or funders back. They're giving you that as donations. You need to go through various other types of licensing through both the state and the IRS. So through the state, it's pretty easy. You register to become a nonprofit, and then you take that information, go to the IRS, and apply for, generally it's a 501c3, which is just the name of the organization type that the IRS looks at. Your SCORE mentor can walk you through it. It's also, if you look at the ohiogov.org and you go into that, there's some information on nonprofits and tells you how to get the nonprofit status in Ohio. But you also have to have it in the IRS in order for you to get tax exemptions and things like that. So it does protect the liability of the directors. So if you're starting a nonprofit, you need to have a board of directors, and that board of directors actually runs the nonprofit, and they are the governors of what happens. Even if you're the founder and potentially the, let's say, director, they are your boss. They can fire you for not living up to the mission and things like that. So nonprofits are mission driven, and it's based on the mission That's how you would look for funding and things like that. I'm not going to go into how you find funding. I would say that if you are considering a nonprofit, A, talk to your mentor, and B, stay tuned, go into score.org and look for workshops that are specific for nonprofits. There are several, and SCORE has several nonprofit experts that can work with you. But the disadvantages are most focused on educational or charitable purposes. I told you that they are mission driven and cannot profit. All profit remains in the organization, and you've got to apply for a 501c3 to get tax exemptions, and you got to have a board of directors. It's not that hard. Somebody can help walk you through it. So let's keep going on. Online businesses. The only thing I want to bring up there, and you all have seen those, and some of them are very, very successful. There are, in many cases, unless you've got something brand new and different than anything and everybody else that's out there, quite low barriers to entry. And what I mean by that, it's not very costly to start up a website and decide tomorrow I'm in business. It's very difficult to get customers and clients and things like that, but by saying low barrier to entry, low cost, and that applies for all businesses that you start. The lower the barrier to entry, the easier it is to have competition, and the easier it is for your competitors to get into the same business. So take a look at something that's a high barrier to entry. Take a look at Amazon. If you wanted to start Amazon tomorrow, it would cost you billions of dollars. It's a huge barrier to entry. But if you decide that tomorrow you want to become a photographer and you've got a camera, that's a low barrier to entry. But I would tell you that your competitors are going to be numerous. So those are things that you need to decide about as you're going into your business. So let's talk about components of owning a business. And I'm going to go through this very quickly. And this is an org chart that has no real meaning here except to tell you that when you start your business, you wear all the hats. Up to, even if you're a nonprofit business, one of the issues with nonprofits is that the founder, even though you've got a board, is the only person doing the work. And unless you've got people on your staff or volunteers that work with you in a nonprofit, it's going to be very, very difficult to grow that. Same thing under these circumstances with a small for-profit business. I've got one question here. Let me take a quick look and see if it's relevant right here. Is a mid-level marketing considered a company that you can advance on your own? I would say absolutely yes, depending on who your customers and clients are and what you're doing for them. That would be something that would probably require a little bit more discussion. But mid-market in general is based on revenue amounts and the types of businesses that you're in from a mid-level perspective. But yeah, I would say if I'm in the right place, that it's worth looking into. All right, let's keep going. So in terms of hats, you're going to wear them all. Marketing, I'm not going to go into marketing in any detail. It's going to be covered in the third workshop. And then in a few weeks, we've got a marketing series starting. I think I'm doing the first one, and it's called Marketing Basics. So be on the lookout for that. That really begins to dive into marketing in a little bit more structured way than what we'll talk about over the next two sessions. The third session in particular is really going to be how Anne, and you'll see Anne's nursery is the example and the case study we're doing, looked into her marketing. It's a little bit on the simplistic side, but it'll give you a very, very good idea of the thought process behind that. So be on the lookout for that. Branding, name recognition, qualification of your products and services, marketing identity, and advertising. We'll talk a little bit more about that in session 3, but more so in the marketing areas and in particular marketing basics. And there will be 2 or 3 others that follow up with that. Sales is going to be very important. My expertise is in sales and marketing kind of as the side of that. But in sales, understanding how to connect with your customers. And that's, either on a face-to-face level, on a social media level, on, a website level, virtual or otherwise. There are just many, many ways to connect. And depending on what your business is and who your target markets are, that's how you would do that. We'll talk about that in the business basics workshop that I'm telling you about. And we'll talk a little bit about that in session 3 for this series. Finding prospects, how to make presentations, how to prepare bids. And a lot of times, it's just, it could be a bid that you send out online. It could be a bid that you present in person. Those are all important. And how to close deals. If you get a lead, how to convert that lead from somebody that just has some interest into actually a closed piece of business. So I'm not going to go into this in tons of time, but you've got to look at your operations once you get them up and running. Look at your strengths and look at your weaknesses. What courses you can take, courses of action you can take to improve your skills, things like that. So if you're starting a business and you don't have all the skills, there are ways to overcome that. You bring in people that have those skills that supplement your weaknesses. You may have strengths in other areas. And so looking at it that way, sometimes partnerships are a great way to go. So, you always want to think about your product or your service. Who needs it? Why do they need it? What sets you apart? And what makes you better than your competitor? The very first sales call that I went on as a young salesperson, I sat down and I gave one of the best presentations I've ever given in my entire life. And when I was done, the general manager of the company that I was talking to asked me one simple question, and I froze. And that is, what makes you better than, and I talked about 2 or 3 companies, and they already knew who our competitors were. What makes you better than them? I had no idea how to answer that question. So that's something that you need to make sure you do. By the way, I lost that piece of business, got it back a few years later, but that was my first challenge as a salesperson. How are we on time? We got about 10 minutes. Want you to really understand your competition. We're going to talk about that as we go along. Again, if you're starting a business where you've got a lot of competitors, you better have some uniqueness to what you do and what value you bring in order to get to a point where you can actually overcome your competitors or get enough business that puts you able to support yourself. Let's keep going on because I want to talk about the legalities of your business. I talked about, going into ohio.gov, and that'll talk to you about what a sole proprietorship is, a partnership, limited liability corporation or company, or in some cases, limited liability partnership, C Corps and S Corps. And what I'm going to say here is, let's keep it simple. Let's talk a little bit about sole proprietorship. So a sole proprietorship is you deciding tomorrow, I'm going to go into business. You've got a name, you've got a website. You might want to consider looking and registering your name so that there are, you can find out if other companies have your name and what potential liabilities you might have if you use a name that other people are already using. And then once you are in business as a sole proprietor, you need to make sure that when you go into your personal income tax, that any revenue you bring in is declared. I think it's a Schedule C that you would fill out as a self-employed person. There are a little bit of taxes based on that as well, but you've got to declare your income. That's one possibility. The one thing that I will point out is that in terms of liabilities, if somebody wants to sue, they will sue you directly. So again, think about this, maybe talk to an attorney or somebody that understands the law about starting a sole proprietorship. Now, in many cases, there aren't many things that you have to worry about liability-wise in terms of suits, and that's a good way to go. So again, so if I run over and I know you've got to get off right on time, you will get a copy of the recording of this so that you'll have the ability to watch it all the way through. So what I would then recommend is the possibility of considering a limited liability company or limited liability partnership. And again, when you go onto your state to register that, there'll be paperwork that you've got to fill out, which you can do online, by the way. You can use a credit card to pay for it. I believe it's $99 through the state of Ohio. It's inexpensive, and there's some protection there. You can do research on that ohio.gov site on the name that you want to choose. And you can see who's got that name, if anybody does. And you can see if that's free for you to use it. Then you can go out and also, not on that site, but on other sites, reserve whatever website names that you want for your websites. And limited liability gives you the protection where your company is sued if there are any issues and somebody's going to bring a lawsuit against you. So I would recommend that you go online and or I will be sending you, I think I've got this, let me go here and look at the handouts. One of the handouts that you'll be getting will have a much more detailed explanation of this, and even more so if you go online. The SBA's got a great website as well. So if you go to SBA dot, I think it's gov also, or .us, I'm not sure which. There are many, there's a lot of information about business startups. And particularly if you're interested in doing a nonprofit, you can go in there and take a look at that. So let me bring this back up. In about 9 minutes. Things that you want to consider. I mentioned businesses licenses earlier. You want to look at labor laws, particularly insurance laws and various withholding taxes, immigration laws. If you are hiring people that are immigrants, you want to make sure that you're within the law on those. IRS, Social Security withholding, and other insurance that you are obligated to make sure that you've got. I've got a bunch of questions that I'm going to hold off, I think, till the end. Let's get through this. So, insurance considerations, these are things that I think about early on. You might not necessarily have to pull the trigger until you're ready to start your business, but it wouldn't be bad if you've got somebody that can help you with business insurance. Talk to a business insurance agent. I would say that you want to have a relationship with an agent. You want to have a relationship with a banker, even if it's your personal banker. You want to have a relationship with a mentor of some sort, and you want to have a relationship with a lawyer and some sort of finance person in your business dealings. Those are all areas where you're going to get the kind of help that you need to keep your businesses up and running. You don't necessarily need them right away, but you do need them on the road. So we're going to go through business planning in more detail over the next couple of weeks. And I want to show you another handout that you're going to get. And I'd ask you when you get that handout to read it, because this comes from a business plan template that's online. We'll probably send this out to you, but this is called Ann's Nursery. And if you go through and read Ann's Nursery, the business plan, you'll get a really good idea on how to take a look at filling out a business plan. There's a table of contents here, and the one that exists online at SCORE, for each one of these, the executive summary, the description, etc., each one of these in the table of contents, there is an explanation as to what is needed to fulfill the ideas that need to go into this. But here is an example of for the Ann's Nursery, the executive summary. This is an overview of marketing. This is by no means a marketing plan, which I would suggest is something that is needed on a separate basis from a business plan. Some competitive studies, their company description, mission statement, philosophy, goals. These are all things that you ought to be considering early on in your thought process as you go through developing your business. And again, I mentioned early on, if you're not willing to put the work in, you will not be successful. Marketing plan, there is a bit of a marketing plan here. It's a pretty good start. What's nice about this is over the next few weeks, the material we talk about will be very much related to this business plan. So the research that you'll do next week will be talking about products and services, the company description, and so on. Marketing plan in the third week, financial plan in the fourth week, and then certainly funding. So I'm going to get out of this and go back to where we were on the slideshow. Got about 7 minutes left. I think we're going to do it. The importance of a business plan. I mean, here it is right here. It encourages you to think of it objectively. The one thing that you don't want to do here is do this from the perspective of something that you think. Let me think of it. There's a particular word I want to use. It'll come to me in a minute. You want this to be business related and not, fulfilling your idea and making, and explaining and how you're going to market and how wishful thinking on how this thing is going to go. You need to be very, very specific and grounded in the work that you put into this. Um, and the word still hasn't come to me, but when I get there, I'll tell you what it is. So it's your foundation, and it's something that you can utilize for years to come, particularly once you're up and running, because you want to look at your business from a 3 to 5 year plan out. Okay. So it's a powerful management tool to go back into, and it's going to communicate your ideas, and it's going to give you an opportunity really to think through what your idea is and how it's going to work. I'm not going to go through the plan because take a look at Ann's Nursery. This tracks right along with it. I mentioned banker, lawyer, accountant, insurance agencies. So there is a small business ready a self-assessment that I think is on the next slide. I'm actually going to pull up. Let me just do this very quickly. I think I've got it up and open already. So this is that's the vision statement. That's a readiness self-assessment. So this actually, this is just something that you want to think through. You can keep this to yourself. You can rate it. You could rate it if you're going to take all 5 of this series and rate it again at the end, just kind of see what you're doing. So I'm not going to spend a lot of time there. I want to get to some questions, to some Q&A in a minute. I think we're pretty much at the end of this. So the readiness self-assessment, a vision and mission statement, and that will be sent to you as well. This is the beginning and the foundation of your plan, to think about the overall purpose of your business, what you're trying to achieve, why you're in business, maybe who you're serving, describe the product. This is the very, very germ of your plan. And then you can take some of those ideas into your actual business plan and go from there. And then I think that's it. So what I would say is, go through the material that you're going to get, take a look at it. You can even begin working on your business plan and go from there. Do you need to register just in Ohio or nationally? If you are just a for-profit business, for all intents and purposes, unless you've got national qualifications that you need to meet for the particular industry that you're in, you just need to register as a business in Ohio. And there's going to be a Business Transparency Act that's coming up. You'll hear about that more over the next few months. Corporate Transparency Act, where you're actually going to, after you go on to, once you've got a business up and running, you need to go to a website on the national. I don't know what the website is off the top of my head, but it's Corporate Transparency Act, and you've actually got to register your business there. It is for the purpose of being able to actually find the owner of the business, so somebody's not putting up sham businesses to launder money. We will be doing workshops and webinars on that. And to the best of my knowledge, from what I've seen, it's quite simple. It's a 10-15 minute thing that you can fill out. Let's keep going because I want to get some Q&A in. So I've got a few up here. Do you need to register the name? Do you need to register the name nationally or in the state? I would definitely register it in the state. Registering it nationally may not even be a possibility. And depending on, what business you're in, and if somebody else has the same name, you will find out pretty much immediately, or similar names, when you go onto the site in ohio.gov, and you can actually type into the search bar, register a name, and it'll take you right to it and tell you how to do that. Let's see, how do I register my name? I think I just talked about that. And if you want to stay on, I'll actually pull the site up and walk you to it. My mentor from SCORE, will my mentor from SCORE be able to assist me with my patent or trademark? Not certain who your mentor is, but if you're looking to put together a patent or a trademark, when you request a mentor, put that into the descriptive area, and they will try to match you up with somebody that has that skill. Now, let's see what other questions we have. I have the session as 2 hours on my calendar. Is that incorrect? Not necessarily. I could have done this in 2 hours, but because this is lunch hour, at one point in time, we were doing these at 7 o'clock in the evening, and they were definitely 2 hours long. But because this is basically a lunch hour for most people, we try to keep it down to an hour. Not every one of these will be an hour. Some of them might run over that. So I'm trying to keep that squared away if we can. Let's see if I have any other questions. I am not seeing any other questions. So if you have anything, feel free to contact me. I didn't put my contact in the chat. I am Robert, Robert, dot COHEN at scorevolunteer.org. And volunteer is spelled out. So that's all I have. I think maybe one more question came in. Yeah, most webinars are showing as an hour and a half. We're beginning to switch more and more, probably in January, maybe even in February, to noon, because what we have found, and if you guys have any preference, just let me know, and I'll make sure that the people that are doing these know. We have found that there are almost no difference in attendance in noon or 7 o'clock. So, if we saw that 7 o'clock yielded many more attendees, then by all means, we'd do it that way. Let's see if I have any other questions. I think that's it. Oh, no, one more. That applies even to those offered at 7. Yeah, I mean, the lunchtime ones we're trying to keep down to an hour. I don't know if people will be successful doing that. We can go a little slower in the evening because people will take the time, but we're trying to be conscious of people's time frame. So that's pretty much it. Any other chat? Any other questions? Yeah, 2 more. Yeah, I mean, there are a lot of business ideas that have little startup costs. Again, I don't know what your particular skills are, but we've got landscapers that do very, very well, painters that do very, very well. We've got, power washing is another one. I had a client that came to me after doing power washing and wanted to figure out where to go with his business. He wanted to actually take the money he made power washing and look for other businesses to buy. And his first year in the business was over 200K. Now, here's a guy that really hustled. And the funny part about this is that he did not start the business in the way in which I would have. He just went out there and started doing it, making money. But by the time I got to him, he had a huge tax liability that he didn't know what to do with. So I'm still, and I hooked him up with an accountant. I'm still not sure what he did, but he was making some real money. But there are a lot of businesses out there that don't require a lot of money to start. That's low barrier to entry. And you are going to have many, many more competitors when you do that. Let's see. I think that's all I've got right now. P.S. I actually heard only the last 1 hour. You pretty much heard most of it, but you will get a recording. Let's see if I got anything else. I'll bring that up. That if we're not doing 2 hours, that they should try and correct the time slots going forward. But keep in the back of your mind that it's roughly an hour and a half to 2 hours. We'll try to keep it down where we can. That way we're much more succinct. We don't need to dwell, and I think you get more out of it when you're succinct. Anything else? I don't see anything else in the chat, and I don't see any other questions. It's 1:05. I'm happy to stay on. If anybody else has questions, okay. Well, what I would say is that if you can get to the second session of this, you are going to be getting the beginnings of the thought process of actually working on your own direct businesses. In the meantime, if you can, sign up with a mentor. It's free. All it costs you is your time and our time. And we've got some very, very good mentors out there. So I look forward to seeing you in another week or so. And you should, if you are getting emails on the sessions generally, you should have or will get an email on the second session sometime next week, or I should say this week, actually. And also, if you don't have anything, just go to our website. On the homepage, if you scroll down to the very bottom, you can sign up. It says sign up for our newsletter. If you sign up for that, it'll put you on our list, and you will automatically be sent workshops that are coming up. I think we send too many emails, but that's the only way to keep you guys informed. Looks like I have a couple. So if you need to jump off, feel free. But I have a couple more questions that just came in. The slides will be automatically emailed to you. What'll happen is, we'll have an attendance list with all your email addresses on it. In the next day or so, you'll get the slides, you'll get the recordings, and you'll get the handouts. Yes, we have people, our mentors can help you with your business plan. We won't do your business plan for you, but we'll put you in the right place. We'll show you the template. We'll walk you through it. We'll tell you what everything means. You will write it, and we are happy to go through it, work with you on it. And, even beyond once your business plan is done, if you're looking for funding, we can help there. As I mentioned earlier, very, very difficult for startups to get funding, but there is some startup money out there. So, I would not say no. It's really going to be based on your business plan and your personal income and things like that. And I think that's it. I see no more Q&A. So last one. Okay, can you send me the information for the mentor? Go to score.org/Cleveland. Once you're in there, there's an area right below banner under the picture that says find a mentor. Just click there, fill out that information, and the rest will take care of. A mentor will contact you generally within 48 hours, and you will get back to the mentor, and the two of you will set up a session. And that's it. All right, so let's see. Yeah, so about half of us have dropped off. If there are no more questions, I am going to close it off. Thanks, everybody. I look forward to working with you in the next few sessions. Take care, all.